Hello everybody, welcome to today's race between Wewbear and Xenocat. Round of 32, Wewbear up 1-0, looking to move on. I am joined today by the former teammate of the Xenocat TV2, Pudrak. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We seem to have gained a couple of teammates, though. I didn't know it was 4v4 nowadays.
That would be a great tournament to be able to set up. It would be a logistical nightmare, but that would be a ton of fun.
Yeah, of course, we've got J-Mac in the background on the tracking, and Bad Carmack, who sounds more like something from Final Fantasy V, but there we go, doing our restream today, so thank you for them for volunteering today. And we've got this is the second game, I believe. Wewbear is currently up 1-0, looking to stamp his place in the next round, while Xenocat's trying to get it back.
Yeah, looks like we have a pretty full slate of key items are going to be available. This isn't going to be one of those Hook and Darkness style objectives. Big highlights from this flag set from people who haven't really gotten to see much of the bracket seeds yet. Still maxed at 4 characters, but Cecil and Fusoya not available, which is a huge hit to your overall power potential. Characters still starting with random, relatively low tier equipment, and yeah, the makes for notoriously slow starts. Starting with Iridia can make that happen as well if you don't run across a big time summon somewhere.
Yeah, Iridia starting with just level 1 30 hit points. Nothing really too much you could say about her. The best thing she could really start with at the start is a Dancing Dagger. But over these objectives, we're going a long way and a lot of places around, so levels shouldn't be an issue, so we may see her stick around, who knows. But forging with Kakol, getting the Sand Ruby and using that, completing the Giant of Babel, Sealed Cave, returning the Pan, defeating the King of Summon Monsters, and destroying the Super Cannon. No actual objectives on the moon, but the Darkness Crystal is still required.
Yeah,
that moon's a question mark.
It sure is, yeah. It's hard for the moon to be completely haunted in a 7 objective setup, but this seed is certainly setting the runners up for it. They are judged solely by the objective list, are not going to be heavily incentivized to go up there. There's already an argument to be made that you should be clearing out the earth and the underground simply because those spots are weighted higher. I'm sure both of these runners are going to be looking to do everything they can on the blue planet before moving on.
Yeah, and we are underway. So Iridia will be paired today with Kain, and there's a Vow and a Lunar Staff. So you can make Iridia hit something with that.
Yeah, Iridia actually does have access to some White Mage gear before she turns into an adult. Losing that ability is actually the one drawback you get from growing her up. So between that, if you can find something even semi-reasonable that you can use for a Kain, something even like a Silver Sword or a Fire or something like that, this should be more than enough to get you started, get you through the first initial couple of checks.
Yeah. We probably will see the standard opening of going to check the key item in with Edward today in Troya. But of course, Xenocat's proven me wrong, as he usually does. As they usually do. But Wewbear, off he goes. Let's see what we get first up.
Yep, Xenocat, a little bit famous for doing things a little bit off color, and B, for not liking looting. So they are probably hoping that they can take a look at Eblin and nothing else.
Yeah, Icebrand is a good first pick up in there as well. Great weapon for a starter Kain. And a Dragoon Shield. Yeah, he's going to be set for his first initial fights.
Yeah, Vanilla Harp for Wewbear on the other end, something on the blue planet to be able to do. That spot have a lot of magic resistance. Usually some of the weaker bosses you can still get through with magic, but most bosses you can't hit them with magic there. So getting this cane or another heavy hitter or something to hit them with is a little bit more important now even than it was before.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Wewbear in the Troya Treasury, finding the sort of opposite, found a full slate of elemental armors in that treasury: fire armor, ice armor, and diamond armor. So if you're up against any elemental damage, well, he's got protection against it now.
And just want to say welcome to all the raiders coming over for free energy. Save your games, so in case you need to reset, you don't lose your progress. We are just getting started here, and not a whole lot to speak of right now other than Vanilla Twin Harp in the bed, and we're seeing what Xenocat is going to be pulling out of Evelyn Castle.
Wewbear not really finding a whole lot. Zeus Rage is definitely going to help out. Xenocat has definitely found the better items overall to start off with, because getting that cane able to hit things is going to be great. Wewbear is a little bit behind on that.
Wewbear is going to be hitting up Watery Pass here, trying to get a shot at the higher tier loot that Zeno is already trying to get out of Evelyn. Hopefully trying to pick up something half decent for his cane. That full moon, hey, that's a really big find right there.
Wewbear is fine now. That Stardust Rod evens up things quite a bit. It's being able to use that as an item for the Stardust Stardust spell is a great find, and Rydia will be able to do quite a bit with that.
Yeah, reusable item, non-elemental AoE spell that hits relatively hard. That's probably is what influenced Wewbear to actually check the initial summon spot there for Rydia as well, because now he's heavily incentivized to keep her around, just as somebody who can use the Stardust Rod, if for nothing else.
And this early Sylph, that is great stuff for this start of Rydia.
Yeah.
Kane, on the other hand, for Wewbear, did only start with a hand axe, so not great, but it's not bad. Kane is in the middle slot, so the accuracy isn't as penalized with that particular weapon. But he's got plenty of J items, a Zeus Rage and a Gaia Drum. Yeah, Kane's going to be just fine.
Yep. This is a really, really good... The dream Rydia start is to just pull a Bahamut from somewhere, but short of that or a Leviathan, this is basically the best you can ask for her. Stardust Rod and Sylph, this is great. And you're going to getting to pick up your White Mage here completely for free as well.
Yeah. Dark Knight Cecil here is going to take down that Rydia with the hit, but it really is Rydia going to stay up? Or is he going to focus more on Rosa?
Might be able to time the life potion here, potentially. Yep, there you go. Gets her back up before the script, so Rydia will be getting that sweet, sweet experience.
Yeah, it is a little bit easier for Rosa to get that experience later, but Rydia getting her that little bit of MP just to cast Sylph is much better. Xenocat is going to be picking up their Rosa and a little that experience as well very shortly.
So chat's talking about the Sylph glitch, so I might as well mention it. Getting Rydia up to 30 MP is a really, really nice power spike for her here, because there's actually a glitch in the vanilla game that's still on that the Sylph spell actually doesn't consume any MP as long as Rydia is not standing in the center party slot. So essentially she's allowed to use Sylph forever as long as she's not in the center and you're not fighting something that drains her MP somehow. So that's fantastic. Even if you're up against a tougher boss that requires multiple Sylph casts, as long as you have 30 NP to work with, your Rydia can sit there and burn through it, especially because the other half of the Sylph spell is party heal.
It is 25, but 25, 30, it's all the same. It's still free in the end, essentially. But it's still a very big power spike that Rydia doesn't usually get this early on. There's lots of people out there who just will leave her be. But at this stage, with what we've found, yeah, Kane's going to do a fair amount, but Rydia's going to do more.
Right, which isn't something you get to say very often in the early game, but it's definitely going to be the case here for sure. That might change, of course, if we do wind up finding a really nice weapon for Kane off a key item check or out of a high tier chest or something. But for right now, I mean, CPU fight. I mean, this is going to be bread and butter for Rydia right here.
Yeah, Sylph doesn't care about wall. Oh, it's going to do around about 700 damage in this particular spot. Just take out the defender, make sure those heals don't come. Sylph will keep you fully healthy, and everything will be fine.
Yep, and you can just use the Sylph Rod to get rid of the last 2 orbs at the end. It's perfect for her.
Helping out with that Gaia drum. Kane can be lost to the ether, I guess.
I'm sure he's late to betray somebody somewhere. He typically is.
Well, he's got a poison axe, so he's getting started early.
We'll get to see what's coming off the Bull defense check here shortly. Xenocat is sort of doing a little bit of backfilling of what Wewbear has already done. They are going to be hoping that the Eblin loot catches them up.
Yeah. Is going to Antlion. Antlion hasn't been checked yet by Wewbear, so this is a new check. But where Wewbear goes next, we'll find out soon.
Pinktail off the Fabul defense. That is an adamant armor, arguably one of the, if not the most broken item in the entire Final Fantasy universe. Ton of defense, ton of stats. It's game changing, honestly. So both runners will definitely be looking for the hook to be able to turn that in and get a hold of it.
Yeah, we haven't found our underground access yet, so hook route may still be on the table, and that adamant armor from the Pinktail is going to make things a lot easier. Really depends on who they would want to put it on at this point, though. We've got 3 very good candidates for that. Rydia can work with it especially well. Rosa can work with it throughout the game, and Kane too. Yeah,
there would be very, very few encounters at the hook route where I don't think you would not want it on the Rydia, just because I think a back row character in adamant armor with the Sylph heals I don't think is killable by most bosses. There are going to be exceptions, but it's just probably going to be the early target of it at least, but I wouldn't be shocked if it gets moved to Kane at some point.
Yeah. Kane seems like the most useful one late game, but early on we may see a few things different. We are picking up a magma key from Antlion, so no hook just yet, but we do have our underground access.
Our loot settings are weighted on these flags, so the underground loot will, on average, be a little bit better. That probably stings for Xenocat a little bit that they spent that time in Eblin only to get relatively free access to the underground, but it is what it is. I imagine both runners will very quickly be on their way down there, rather than taking a look at the rest of the overworld, but we'll see what Wewbear decides to do here. It certainly looks like Xenocat is on their way underground. Yeah,
one of the big things about the underground, yes, the treasures are looted a little bit heavier, but the most important part are the shops. Down in the underground, and the gated shops down there are so much better. You want being able to pick up sirens, Bacchus wines, and a whole host of other things. You want to be checking those shops for your supplies.
Yeah, absolutely. The Japanese specific items, your hourglasses which cast stop, your sirens which summon the rarest encounter, they're all, and some of the others are all very strong. You definitely want them, and that's a blarg at the second in spot.
That is a blarg, but it's slow enough that we should be fine here. Only going to be able to get one particular Starvel up, but lifing up Rydia.
Yeah. Not a lot of magic power at this spot, so the Wyvern actually didn't take itself out with its own reflected Mega Nuke. So this is a little bit scary, because it's very easy with Wyvern to get stuck in a loop where you're just barely able to stay in front of the nukes once they start coming out. But probably has enough of a head start here that they should be able to get through this.
Yeah, and since it's slow enough, the nukes shouldn't be coming out that quickly, so should be able to just keep people alive as long as the next person in the queue doesn't get hit destroyed like that.
There we go. Being a little bit safer, keeping the cane up rather than trying to get the DPS. Now there's the Rydia going out. See, this is kind of what I'm talking about, where you can kind of get stuck behind the 8-ball a little bit. Hopefully Wewbear is going to be able to get the damage dealers up here and be able to take this out. I don't think it has a ton of health left, although now there's a Remedy.
Yeah, Remedy though is actually really good to see, because you know you've got a little bit of time before the next wall comes up, and getting the chance to get this Sylph off is basically ending that fight. Had a wall up on Rosa just in case a revenge Mega Nuke came out, but not needed in this case, and that is a rock.
That is a party rock, and we'll get to see whether or not that leads into looting the treasury ring or not. It's still fairly early in the seed, so I would imagine probably yes for the money alone. One of the other key flags on these settings is that items sell for a quarter of what they normally do, and J items are expensive, so getting enough funds to get what you want is part of the challenge of this flag set.
Yeah, money is a really big and tight issue, but Wewbear is going to be hopefully swimming in it from his own point of view. Wewbear, they have found a few things down there, including a darkness crystal, so great on their part. And hoping to sell a whole bunch of things for Barker Swines, Silk Whelps, and Mute Bells. That's a nice shop, actually.
Yeah, it is. Mute Bells typically used a lot more often for seeds where you're fighting the trap chest encounters, where they're a little more useful, although they can be nice against the Baron guards in the boss pool. Silk Webs cast 2 casts of slow, or maximum slow if you want to put it that way, on your target, which is extremely valuable against fast bosses. Bacchus Wines cast Berserk, which is a completely broken mechanic in FF4.
Yeah, and the Mute Bells also sort of open up the possible grind of Warlocks up on the moon. Since we've got a Darkness Crystal as well now, that is an option if we find some Sirens.
Very true, yeah, especially if we can manage to come across coffins somewhere. That could be a very, very quick potential grind opened up.
One of the things we didn't really mention was that Yang was the character in Baronin. Yang in this particular flag set, I feel actually gets a big power bump because there's not as much equipment available, and he doesn't really need too much to get going except levels. And since we've got underground access and moon access, he can get going a lot quicker than normal. So we might see Yang playing a bit more of a part than, say, some of the group settings that we had before.
Right. He's a very interesting character strategically because he carries very little value in the early game usually. There are the occasional seed, of course, where that's not going to be true. But like you mentioned, because he's not dependent on equipment really at all. He's sort of like a free damage dealer in the end game if you carry him that far. But you're already only being able to carry 4 characters, so having a less useful spot in the early game can potentially hurt you if you don't have a real powerhouse. With this setup, this Rydia is about as close to a powerhouse as she can get without having a Bahamut or Leviathan to her name. So he actually might be a very, very nice asset to be able to carry for the moment.
Yeah, and powerhouses are few and far are between also. You sort of have to remember we're missing Fu, we're missing Cecil, and all the good things that they bring. And Kane can get a little bit of power, but that's usually late as well, and you really need a good weapon for that. There's Edge out there, but even he needs a little bit of time. Everyone needs time. They need levels. They need equipment. They need something. And so power is difficult to say that you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure. We can even see that in this seed. We see that Xenocat actually put forth the funds to buy a Gungnir spear, I believe in the Troya weapon shop. That's 66,000 gold in settings where coming across that kind of money is not easy. That's a big investment in order to try and make that character a lot more useful here in the early game.
Xenocat has gone and checked with the other yarn that we know is in the seed, in the Sylph bed. Did do that before actually coming over to Fabul, so has saved a little bit of time that way. Not a whole lot, but it's definitely worked out in their favor.
Yeah, but we're going to take a look. I believe we saw one of the sets of Baron guards, and I think it was a Sparkle down here when Xenocat peeked at this.
Yep,
yeah.
And we have already seen two Sparkles. We've seen Plague and we've seen Wyvern, so that is either Ogopogo, D-Lunas, or Pale Dim.
Yeah, D-Lunars potentially maybe doable, although surviving the punches is going to be pretty rough. Probably a good call. The guards is theoretically a free fight, but they are still going to be punching you. I don't think we have hourglasses, so yeah, it definitely the type of thing to come back to.
Yeah, the guards, either type of the guards there is difficult to get through at this particular stage. Nothing really to get through, nothing really to make you survivable, or no major defensive equipment found. So yeah, come back to that. You know that it's basically free if you have some items, hourglass, coffins. Either of those will do just fine.
Yeah, but we do believe Wewbear does have coffins, but you still have to survive to be able to get them off. And the Leviathan spot is just so fast. The punches are almost certainly going to be one-shotting your party members at this level. Asking to get, even if it's the Baron, the Kaipo guards, just asking to even get the one coffin off, there's a real possibility you just lose that casino a whole bunch of times in a row.
Yeah. Xenocat is heading up to a place which doesn't really hold a lot of weight in this flag set. Mount Ordeals. The only reason really to come up here for anything outside of the potential key item is Teller. So this has been a point of contention for a lot of the runners. Do they just leave this place and not come here until really late, or just get it out of the way? So it's an interesting conundrum, Mount Ordeals, at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It's a relatively slow check because you have to get through 3 bosses. The back attack spot is always going to be a little bit slower than it otherwise should be, just because you have to wait through a couple of rounds on the back attack first. And yeah, I totally understand with no Fusoya spells to power up, with no Paladin to power up, that there's a lot less incentive to come up here. I think this is probably a bit of the thing that we were talking about before the seed actually started, that this particular flag set this particular objective set really incentivizes you to try and stay away from the moon. So if that's what you're going to do, then you're going to want to clear out all the earth spots. You're going to want to do this anyway. Might as well do it when you're at the relative power level to be able to get through it.
Yeah. Wewbear is deciding, well, I've got this darkness crystal. Let's go see who is up on the moon. Let's check that shop. Let's Let's see if I can gain any more power. I think we're still looking for sirens, which could still be in the Cave of Blana shop. But let's go check what's up on the moon, see what is available. If it's a teller and we've got a darkness crystal, we're going up to do the Giant of Babel anyway. We might see a, dare I say it, D-machine grind to get people levels and then go from there.
Yeah.
And just get the hardest objective out of the way early.
Yeah, they're definitely super possible depending, the Leviathan summon is actually here, which is actually somewhat interesting too, but no sirens. So if this moon character is a Tella, or if there's a Tella in the Earth Crystal, I think there's a real good chance that we will wind up seeing D-machines here.
So we know it's now not we know it's not Pale Dim in the Feymarsh, so we're down to 2 choices, because Pale Dim is up in the back attack slot on Ordeals. Oh, there's Teller.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this seed is screaming for you to get Ordeals done, get into the Giant, and get some levels. And I would be a little bit surprised if neither runner decided to do that. I can understand from a strategic standpoint trying to stay away from that, just to try to do something different from what your opponent might be doing, but I would be really surprised if both of them dodged doing that.
Yeah. Wewbear has that knowledge, has that option on the table. Well, Xenocat doesn't know that we've got Teller up on the moon at this particular point, but they will be going there eventually. We'll find the Teller and we'll have the choice. And having done Ordeals, if they don't reset out of this, because they don't have the knowledge of the Teller, they're in good stead for later.
Yeah, resetting out of this would be extremely attractive. Extremely aggressive. I would love it as a viewer and as a commentator, but that would be a very aggressive play.
It all really depends on what this item is. If it's not a key item that's leading forward, it's needed. Okay, so that sort of saves Xenocat a little bit. Whether they were going to reset out of this or not, we will never know. But they are set for their Teller shenanigans once they've gone to the moon and picked him up.
Right. They might very well be going there right after this. Just walk out of Ordeals, go west just a little bit to Mysidia, and raise the whale.
Wewbear, on the other hand, is really just sticking with this particular team. I wonder if it's just to make it easier going up Ordeals, because a little bit more or power, although Yarn doesn't give a whole lot at this stage. Or was it just to prevent himself using another transition from the Earth to the moon?
Oh, did he reset out of the moon?
He did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because if he was going to take the Teller, wouldn't he take wouldn't he take him to Ordeals, and then go to Giant from there? Or if he was going to, because it's all about the timing of the transition. The transition from going to the blue planet and to the moon, back again a number of times is long. It's
an interesting choice. Just, you don't really have a great anchor option right now because you're leveling the Rydia. Base level Rydia is a fantastic anchor, but you are leveling her. This could be what I was talking about. I was thinking of sitting on the strategy of, okay, I know the Tell is there. I know D machines theoretically are on the table. However, I also know that at least from the objectives, I don't need to kill anything on the moon. So I'm going to bet that the underground and the rest of the earth checks are easy enough that I don't gain a lot of time by over leveling first, and I can gain my levels more or less naturally, and I can hit D machines at 10 key items as opposed to doing it at 5. Definitely a play. I mean, literally, you can get through your D machines twice as fast if you have 10 key items when you do them.
Yeah, that very well may be the case. And we have seen 6 already. 4 more, and we'll be heading more than underway for our level wanting needs.
Yeah. Could also wind up that we just get a duplicate Tela in the Earth Crystal check as well, and could just be saying, you know what, that's possible that happens, and if it does, great, and if not, then I'll go up and grab the Tela later if it turns out that I want him.
That's it. If sirens are found later, that would be a little bit easier. I think just since you'll have that Tela and week available, and you'll be up on the moon for any other key items that might be hiding up there. It's a lot of theory, really.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see what's going along the way once they make their final decisions. At the moment, there's a lot of things up in the air for what they might want. However, right. Treasury.
That's right, chat. It's time to rate that treasury. Okay. Stuff.
Rate that inventory.
Inventory boss.
How much do you want out of all these things? Not much. Good, because you're not getting a lot. Hourglass 2. That's not too bad. Siren.
Charmrod.
Power shirts.
The one thing about the inventory boss like this is that this is a lot of money you're throwing in the trap. Well, I mean, nominally it's actually very little money because of quarter cell, but like in terms of what's available to you, you are throwing a lot of money in the trash here, which does hurt a little bit.
Fence sword, power shirt, Kane is set.
Yeah, I would say this is for T Pro. I'd say this is at least an 8 out of 10 treasury. You've completely geared out this Kane with basically anything he's ever gonna want. You've got a decent amount of stuff for your side characters here, like with this black belt. This is probably about apart from a Bahamut, this is probably the best you were hoping for.
And we won't be finding Bahamut.
Oh, that's true.
Anyway, because I believe it's max tier 6, so we wouldn't be finding that anyway.
True enough.
That we found a defense sword is quite amazing, actually. Wewbear right behind to pick up their goodies. They're going to be really happy that this defense sword is here, as well as that hourglass and siren. You can't say those two are bad items either.
No.
They're going to come in very useful.
Yeah, we haven't found them yet. There's a decent chance they're both in, as you mentioned, the Cave of Blana's shop, but we don't have access to it yet. And an hourglass can make all the difference in a tough fight somewhere.
Oh, they've both been to pretty much the same places. However, they've done them in a very different order, and Wewbear is heading up Zot, while Xenocat is heading over to Cave Magnet. So they are keeping themselves separate.
Yeah, Xenocat going for the optimal routing approach here, just because when you get out of Cave Magnus, you can immediately go and do the Earth Crystal. Should you want to do it, you wind up kind of right there. But Harp, as much as we love it, is a lot of time invested for one check, and Wewbear is deciding that he is going to fade that for the moment, it looks like.
Yeah. Xenocat will find out what this key item is, or what the item is going to be. And if it is something good, they are fully set to go straight into Zot afterwards. So from a routing point of view, it's good, but it's just going to take a little bit longer. Meanwhile, Wewbear is just ignoring it completely.
Yeah, you do. It's in any randomizer. It's hard to win when you do everything. It means you have to out execute your opponent really in order to be able to win. So you have to make some educated gambles here and there about what you're going to skip. And in FF4, Twin Harp's a common choice.
Yeah. However, music. Oh, we do need to remember that Xenocat is the curator of many a Twin Harp tune, and I believe that one is one of theirs in particular, and has received the pan, which is required. So music, that could be bad for Wewbear.
It could be. We've discussed it a couple of times. I think with this objective set, it's going to be hard to justify not clearing out the Earth before you seriously start doing moon checks. So I do think Wewbear will get here eventually, but it does put you off the scent for longer, right? It definitely could wind up being bad.
Yeah, Double Edward in Zot. One of them being fairly okay, one of them being the musician.
Got some half-decent edge weapons, though, so does elect to pick up the ninja.
Yeah, considering we've got Kane fully set up now with a great weapon in the defense sword, Edge will bring more over the short term than Yang. So yeah, perfectly understandable for that. In terms of team, I think Wewbear is going to say, "This is my team now." The only change I'm going to make is likely Rydia is going to be good for now with the Sylph and stuff, but we'll be changing out for Teller later down the line. I know where he is. I've got an anchor that way.
Yeah, I think that's a very likely possibility. If it turns out Bacchus wines aren't out of Bacchus, we do know they are in the seed, right? They're down in Feymarch, I believe. So
yes,
yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Yep.
Yeah. Rosa will handle all of your healing needs. Teller will be your anchor. Bacchus wines will be your way to win this for the most part. Just need a little bit more money and a little bit more experience. This is panning out pretty well, including the pan that Xenocat found. So Wewbear will receive the ribbon. It's nice.
Very nice utility item. Virtual status immunity, ton of magic defense. Super helpful. Not a key item though.
Yeah, it's a ribbon, and it's exactly what you expect of it in the Final Fantasy series, for the most part, staying away from Cave Magnus, so we'll
now
see.
choosing to head into Dwarf Castle. We did note a blue robe as the second boss here, so I know our runners are going to be hoping for it.
Yeah, and this is elements we've already seen in the Dark Imps. It was a red robe, which meant this is elements. So if we see Rubicante, a sprite later down the line, we know we have the full leg.
Probably will wind up seeing the leg here, I would imagine. Not going to be going for a reflex skip or anything. Yeah, the wine's already coming out.
Just sitting back with Rydia, just waiting on that changeover. Making sure that any spells that do happen from the Ruby phase, which is probably one of the most dangerous, those just get covered up a little bit.
Yeah. This boss fight can be a little bit dangerous in any spot with a decent amount of magic attack power, with the Rubicante portion of it specifically throwing out high-level fire spells. So usually if you can push through the Rubicante phase, you're usually fine.
Yeah. This particular spot isn't extremely far. Isn't really that fast. It can hit hard, and it can cast spells pretty well. So you just want to get through it as quickly as possible, which is exactly what Wewbear's done. Let's see what that blue robe is. Is it the one that makes everyone sad, or the one that makes everyone sad in other ways, because it's the last time you see Anna in the seed?
Get to find out here very shortly. We got another Rosa.
It's the one that makes people sad.
Yeah. The Gauntlet, again, for people not super familiar, this is the fight that you normally take at the Fabul defense spot in the vanilla game. The enemies are randomized into ones that are, generally speaking, from the area the fight is in. So these are all enemies from outside the Dwarf Castle area.
None of which are really that horrible and really that strong, but you've got to go through 5 fights in a row. And the packs usually contain 3 or 4 enemies. So without any major clearance spells that the team outside of Flame we really don't have on this particular team, this might take a couple minutes.
Yeah. Although Rydia should have picked up one of the advantages to growing Rydia up is that she does learn a handful of spells and summons. So she's probably picked up something half decent for AoE here.
He's in the wrong spot though, considering Edge is in the fastest spot for this particular team. Kane, who is quite speedy himself, is in the second. Then he'll go Rosa, then Rydia. Rydia is really in the. Is just not in the right place.
Yeah, she's not going to see a lot of turns. That's absolutely for sure. And summons are slow, at least not the really good ones. The mid-tier summons all have a pretty significant cast time to them.
Xenocat has also chosen to pick up Edge over Yang. Not really a surprise there. Exactly the same reasons. More power over the short term.
And Rydia does still have that Stardust rod as well. Forgot about that.
But only on Wewbear's side. Xenocat's Rydia is currently with, I think, a Charm Harp as best weapon.
Yeah, there was a Charm Rod in the treasury, yeah, so that's probably what she's wielding.
It'll be very surprising if she can wield a Charm Harp.
I'm sure you can steal one from somewhere. You could give it to her for whatever reason.
Well, we have an Edge. Sneak glitch is still a thing.
I haven't seen an official race where someone has gotten a successful back row Yang. I know it's happened. I know Silverfire's done it at some point, but I don't think that was in this tournament.
It wasn't, but we're also not going to see it in this particular tournament since backroad glitch is disabled.
Yeah, true. Not going to see it in the bracket flags. So yeah, normally in the vanilla FF4 game, the back row bit, once it's set, it doesn't come off. So if you give someone a weapon that gives them full back row damage, even if you remove the weapon, they still keep the full back row damage. This particular flag set has that glitch fixed. So if you want somebody doing back row damage, they need to be equipped with a back row damage weapon. So that's definitely made it harder to fit multiple melee characters into a party. And it's taken a lot of value away from some weapons like drain swords and dwarf axes.
Yeah. Full Moon, for as good as it is as a weapon, it's equivalent to a long blade. It still doesn't stack up to a Mazamune or a Starmane Ninja Blade. So, yeah, if you're going to have a back road character, you're going to pay the penalty of attack damage loss.
Yeah, definitely seen a few seeds where Spoonward has come out and he's had to stay in the back just to try and keep him alive, which, I mean, the spoon is still the spoon, it still hurts, but it certainly isn't as hurting as much as it otherwise would be.
We did get the tower key from the Dwarf Castle lot, so another key item that does bring us up to 7. Or 8 with the pan, and once Xenocat is finished. So we're getting very close to 10 key items and very fast.
Yeah, we're going to be up to our little bar runners will have to decide what they want to do grind-wise here fairly shortly. Looks like.
Yeah, but we do only have access to one objective, and that is with the pan. So Xenocat completing this will we do have 2. We've got destroy the super cannon now as well. We could see Xenocat make the route over to do the tower and the pan checks before coming back to land of summon monsters, such as Wewbear is now, because of this one free boss here.
And yeah, what's important about 10 key items? At 10 key items, you earn double experience. So you are somewhat incentivized to hold off doing a large level grind until you've picked up 10, because you can do your level grind twice as fast.
One pop in Wewbear's inventory is exactly what you need for the officer and soldier fight. Once their officer is down, getting a little bit of a life glitch, the soldiers don't attack you. They only attack each other, or I guess control over who is in charge. But they will just finish themselves off. They will probably do more damage to themselves than you will, actually, in this spot.
Yep, just gonna berserk up one of the boys just to hack through the last couple of soldiers here quickly. And then we'll probably get to see what the sparkle is. The D-Lunars with Frog Breath strats, probably doable. Who is our other sparkle who's left? Ogopogo?
Yep, Ogopogo is the other one. Both of those don't really thrill me a whole lot in that spot, because the viruses are going to hurt if you start attacking. It's going to take a little bit of time to do some real damage to them. Ogopogo is just horrible there, fast, got a lot of hit points. You can't cast magic on it. We don't have a whole lot of attack power, even with what we've got. So neither of them really thrill me as a runner.
Yeah, Ogopogo would definitely be extremely difficult. Rosa doesn't even have Cure 3. It's probably not going to realistically happen. Like I said, there is the Reflect Breath strats available for D-Lunars if that's what it is, and it's a 50-50 shot, and Wewbear is going to take a look, so we'll see what we've got.
And the answer is pain.
That's a big nope noodle. Yeah, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, Cecil. Sorry, he's named it Cecil, of course. So I'm going to get it wrong at least once. Thanks, Wewbear. Kane can do a bit, and Barker's Wines will help here. Edge can do a bit, but Ogopogo is going to hit hard.
Okay, Rosa does have Cure 3, so maybe there's a world, although I don't know that Kane is going to be able to take a physical punch in the front row there.
No,
Yeah.
not even close. Factoring on Edge, that might help, but I feel this is just... If this is a loss, I think we, on this particular attempt, the best thing would be for Wewbear to cut the losses and move on.
Right.
Don't bang your head against this wall, because this is a really big wall without it being called evil.
This is one of those things with the Feymarsh bosses where it can be done, and should you do it? This is probably something that can be done. The question is whether or not you should be spending the time to do it. And it's very, very easy when you have something that you know you can theoretically do, and you just keep banging your head into it, being like, I know this is possible, I know it's possible, and you just get tunnel visioned on it, which is very, very easy to do in a race situation. I'm super guilty of doing it from time to time. So definitely you want to try and avoid putting yourself in that spot if you can.
Yeah, bringing out self as well for a little bit of healing and a little bit of damage. It's all about if Edge can survive more than one punch after a wave, or a double wave. At the moment it looks good, but we still... That might have just been a little bit of luck, because Ogo is still going to hurt.
Yeah.
And casting Blink on a dead Kane doesn't help.
Meanwhile, Xenocat climbing tower can get their hands on both checks up here. So between this and the pan, high chance Xenocat winds up at the 10 key item barrier at the end of this.
Yeah. Xenocat doing pretty much what I sort of expected. Tower then likely will check Sheila 2 with that pan and the self item. He's sort of keeping an eye on their objectives. It was a little bit more, because they're able to. They've got those options, and so that pan and makes it easier to avoid the Feymarsh. Wewbear is here because likely thinks that it might not be something that Xenocat will do quite as early.
Yeah, probably also doesn't want to spend the time to come down here and then have to come down here again. It is a little bit of sunk cost catching up to you a little bit, which again is a bit of an issue. It's something you generally want to try to avoid as a runner, but sometimes, like I said, you see red sometimes. You're like, I know this is doable, so you keep trying to do it.
Yeah, Wewbear's in a bit of trouble here. Yeah, use that illusion with Rosa. However, Ogo's next got a hit off just before that illusion came up, and put her down to 7 HP. Then the wave came out. Perfect timing by Ogopogo. There's no healing coming out, it's just berserks, and I don't see this as a win, especially with this being the double wave.
So Kane, I think, has got one blink charge, so Kane's got to get the kill here in 1 or 2 attack.
And yes, he's doing a fair amount of damage. Not enough, nowhere near enough. That spot has something like 25 to 30,000 health. That's a lot to chew through when you're only hitting 1200 to 1600 a turn.
And yeah, Wewbear deciding that he's had enough and is going to take off now. We got the other noodle is at the top of the tower spot. This is honestly one of the best bosses to have here. This spot has virtually no magic attack. You can see those ice 2s are doing almost nothing. And the Leviathan waves don't hurt as much as the Ogle ones do, so with White Mage in tow, this is basically just, you know, what is it, 20,000 HP to hack through?
Maybe a little bit less,
Yeah.
but well, the waves do hurt just as much, but there's only ever one of them, and they come out at a much lower rate. So yeah, it's still much easier of a noodle to beat up.
Right. The other noodle, by contrast, is arguably the worst fight for that location.
Tower key though, opening up that way, and we have another summon. Bahamut will say 5 and say and then disappear because they don't get the chance to go any further than that. The Super Cannon Room being one of the easiest spots in the game, since it's only got around about 600 to 700 HP, and pretty slow, pretty weak in both attack power and magic power.
Right. Not the place you want a typically free fight like Bahamut. You usually would prefer something not so free here, since you just get to one-shot it anyway, but you take what you can get, and we'll see what Xenocat gets at the bottom of this. The top of the tower check was the hook, which means that Adamant Armor is now available, and I imagine after taking a quick detour into Sylph Cave, that is where we will see them go.
Yeah, and there's a non-zero chance that this will be our 10th key item. Let's see what we get. Wewbear is one key item behind, so won't have 10 out of this if this is something useful.
Yep, and for anyone who hasn't caught the beginning of this race, these runners might look essentially neck and neck right now. However, Xenocat has done the Twin Harp check, which led to a required pan. Wewbear has not done that.
Package is a key item. It's not a required key item, except for the case that it's now 10 key items, and Xenocat will be off to the races with experience. Getting double from this point onwards is always a nice thing.
Yeah, and so we'll have to see what their preferred method is, whether or not they'll peek Cavid Blana to see if the Sirens are in there, or whether they just pick up the Moon Tella and do D-Machines on the way to the Giant of the Bill objective.
They're also going to have a more complete picture over what's on the blue planet. Having done that Twin Harp, they're going to know that, yes, there's actually still quite a bit available still. We're still looking for that Luca key, we're still looking for that Adamant, and we're still looking for that Sand Ruby. There's a lot of things that could actually be up on that moon, because there's nothing else left really to check down here. Well, Wewbear is going to always have that Twin Harp in the back of their mind.
Right. And the one thing is that the Adamant Armor makes that Ogopogo fight a lot more doable, because your edge in the back row in particular will be taking essentially no damage from the melee attacks.
That tell, we're only going to have to one-shot Adamant Cave, so no need to move the hovercraft more than twice here. This is looking great for Xenocat at this point.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what presumably Wewbear, will be on their way to the Twin Harp coming out of here. I would think they might they'll turn in the tails first, of course, but there is the thought process of if I've skipped Twin Harp to this point, then I'm just going to keep skipping it, and that would be devastating for Wewbear if he decided to do that.
Yeah. We'll see. Though there's still a lot of race. We've only seen the way to get to 3 key item, no, 4 objectives.
Yeah.
There's still 3 very much up in the air about where they could be, and still a lot of places to check. Just because it's looking good for me and for Xenocat in my eyes at the moment doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
Oh no, absolutely not. Certainly not written in stone, that's for sure. There's that fantastic adamant armor.
On Wewbear's side, though, the adamant armor isn't going to be coming out for Wewbear. Isn't going to be coming out too much after Xenocat, so there's not going to be any advantage on that side. They're going to have adamant armors at the same time in many of the same fights.
Wewbear is checking this before... Oh, he doesn't have the pen yet, that's right, because he hasn't done Twin Harp. So he is going to lose a little bit of time here, having to come back and make a second trip into the cave.
That's a shot. Those Cure 1s are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, yep. Can never have too many Cure 1s.
We sell one thing here in Cave of Lana, armor shop, and they're the best female armor in the game.
Yeah. Heroine robe, the wearer takes a pretty big hit to their casting stats, but a ton of speed, a ton of power. It's just, if you're going to do an archer, heroine robe is what you want.
And even with a lot of runners, as you see heroine robes be equipped to caster ladies, because it just makes them so fast. Yes, they take a hit, but it doesn't affect anything really that majorly late game. So you're going to take a lot. You're going to get things out quicker. So that heroine robes are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, technically, I believe it would affect your spell accuracy, but I mean, really, even with the heroine robe, Rosa or Porum, they're not going to miss a berserk. They're not going to miss a blink, and that's what you want your white mages for most of the time.
Wewbear has picked up a character I didn't think was in the game, Teller, not the food that he's named, but heading into the moon. So that Twin Harp is being left hanging fully.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the sort of the mindset of, if I've skipped it, then I'm going to keep skipping it until the game forces me to go there. And that's potentially is going to hurt. I mean, it'll depend a little bit on how exactly this moon lays out and how Xenocat decides to attack it. But if this forces Wewbear into doing a bunch of the moon that Xenocat doesn't have to do, then this is really, really going to hurt him.
Yeah. I can't see this being this working out for Wewbear nearly as well as it's going to for Xenocat with everything that's been checked. But we'll see. Xenocat picked up a load of eggs. Wewbear didn't actually do that. It's relying on 10 key items and moon experience, it seems to get them through this. So Xenocat is going to likely not go to the moon until very, very late, until it's the very last thing to happen.
Yep. And like we mentioned, the objective list does sort of encourage the runners to theoretically do that. Now, as our wonderful tracker JMac is pointing out, there almost certainly is going to be value of some type up here. But you want to give yourself the opportunity to do as little of it as possible, because you don't have any other objectives that require moon kills per se. And Xenocat is setting themselves up to do as little of the moon as they can get away with, whereas Wewbear is setting himself up to do the entire thing. And so obviously there are situations where if most of the moon winds up being required, or if the way Xenocat routes it, they wind up doing most of it, then it winds up relatively breaking even. But if Xenocat gets to get away with skipping the Murasama spot or skipping the Bahamut Cave, then that's a huge pickup for them.
Yeah. I believe this is the Ribbon Room, the Lunar Altar. Asura here, yes, you can set yourself up. This fight isn't going to be that dangerous with all the blinks that can be flown out. But this is going to take a while. We've got no mage killing gear because that's usually what's best to fight Asura with. And this spot has a lot of hit points. Oh, apparently it's the White Light Spear Altar. Thank you for correcting me, JMac. So yeah, this has around about 30,000 hit points. So still quite a bit to get through, but not that bad. The blinks are going to keep you alive.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's still going to be a long fight.
Yeah, I don't recall coming across a mute knife anywhere, which would be amazing right now.
Or or a rune axe. That Kane can use that to great effect in this particular fight as well.
Yeah, both those weapons, extra damage to mages, which Ashura is.
Now, I think we do have an elven bow, if it hasn't been sold, and that can do a little bit, but still, there's a lot of good reason. I guess adamant armor will sort of make this fight free since it's on edge as well. You can't forget the power of that particular piece of gear.
Ditching Rydia for Tella. So, well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that Rydia's XP curve can best be described as horrendous, and her big-time black magic spells take a lot of investment for her to be able to get to. So Rydia needs a lot of help to be able to help you in the end game, and most likely Wewbear's not particularly interested in getting that type of investment in her, since he's going to be relying on the Edge and the Cane to be able to get through, Zeromus and all the tough boss fights. The other half is what we call an agility anchor. I don't know if you want to take that one, Quadrak.
Basically, the closer to 2.5 times over whoever is in the center spot of your party, the faster you or the enemies will go, up to a maximum of 1 action every game tick. So you really want someone in the center slot as slow as possible, so that the agility can get to that 2.5 times a little bit quicker. Rydia at the levels that she'd been gained on Wewbear's side would have made that quite difficult and a little bit longer to get to. Tella at a base level is 8 agility, so you only need 20. 20 agility is very easy to get with these other 3 characters, so they'll be able to go quicker.
Xenocat actually also, even at much higher levels than when Wewbear was trying it, also took a wipe and a reset against Ogopogo and has gone back to the underground to crack some more eggs. I don't know if they are planning on heading back down there or if these are eggs intended for the moon.
I don't think Xenocat is going to leave that hanging. They haven't left too much else. So I don't see that Ogo not being defeated. And if this is a grind to continue on, this is a grind to go to the giant, rather than a grind to do anything left outside of Ogo.
And down here at the vanilla Ogopogo spot, we have Baigan, and this is not going to be an easy fight either.
No. Again, and the adamant armor will fix a lot of issues here, but it won't fix everything. This bot hits hard, it hits fast, both magical and physical. Oh, the vampire attack from that back arm actually ignores all the adamant armor and will do a bunch of damage through that. So yeah, adamant armor is going to fix a lot of things, but it's not going to fix everything.
Xenocat, it looks like they are choosing to orphan that Ogopogo spot for the time being. Not terrible, solely because you're almost certainly going to have to go to the moon and back anyway. So it's not like you're going to be having to make an extra trip back down to the blue planet for only trying to get that later. Probably the thought process.
Mm-hmm. The big question is, they've done a bunch of levels. Rydia's up to Quake, so that tells you how far Rydia is along. She's five levels away from Nuke. Is this because 5 levels away from Nuke, getting Quake is actually almost a perfect spot for Giant experience if Rydia stays alive to get Nuke by the end of it. So Giant could have been on the table, but looks like Xenocat's heading to the moon. He's going to have a whole lot of an easier time with the experience they've gained getting through these bosses.
Right. They're just going to be able to carve through everything much, much faster. As we said, this Baigan fight, as you mentioned, with the white mage casting Blink and someone in an adamant armor, it's difficult for this Baigan to kill you, but it's fast, it's taking up a lot of time with its own attack animations, you're losing a lot of time having to continually re-kill the arms. These are things that when you're at a higher level, they're less cumbersome, they're less worrisome for you, so you get to get through the fight faster. It's one of the more interesting questions in Free Enterprise, in my opinion, is the question of can you or should you? Because there's very little in FF4FE that you can't do realistically when you think about it. The question is, should you be doing it?
Yeah, and let's face it, Berserk characters love killing the arms of Baigan.
It sure seems that way. I would be totally fine killing the one in the front and then just hacking away at Baigan the rest of the time, but Berserkers never seem to hold that opinion.
No. It's like the arms are acting as covers for Baigan himself, but not too bad. And there goes the main body. So there may be an explosion coming out, but it won't do that much damage if it does. But there you go. Baigan down. Let's see what Wewbear gets as a reward for that. Did reset out of Odin. Boon. That is his 10th key item.
Yeah,
that
it is.
Might have been what he was waiting for skipping that Odin fight.
Spoon, a really nice weapon for Edge. It essentially is going to be 9,999 damage against whatever you want. So the next very tough boss fight, Wewbear gets a free 10,000 damage on it, more or less.
And Xenocat went to Cave Bahamut and only got that lousy t-shirt.
Yeah, not what you're looking for. No value to be had in K value in this seed.
Wewbear making use of that one siren that he's picked up all the way back in that at Troya Treasury, and the Hourglass. Here comes a set of King Ryu's. The Dragoon Spear definitely helps in this particular case. Running low on life potions, though.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
Yeah, that's the only one. That could be an issue later.
Rosa was out of mana.
Yeah, and missed that life one as well. So only going to get 120,000 here, rather
Only
than
in
180.
Of course, but yeah, yeah, it could be 180.
120 should still be enough, since you are going to get 200,000 from the Odin fight that's coming up, as long as you can get through it, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. And there goes Rydia for Xenocat. They have chosen and Tella over Rydia here. Rydia's close to getting power overwhelming for the most part with Nuke, but you really want a stable anchor at this point. You're getting close to finishing up this game, and you know you've got to go through Giant. You know you want to have speed on your side in those cases.
Probably feel a little bit bad when they come across the Baigan and fight to not have that massive AoE summoner anymore, but I mean, you're gonna want the slow anchor. It's probably theoretically possible to get Rosa to 28 here. I don't know if we ever picked up like a Ninja Hat or anything just to make sure, but there's no point in messing around with maybes, and just get your anchor that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and there's our final Lunar boss. The D-Lunars sitting down on the Murasame altar today.
So the D-Lunars have a script. If you attack them directly, they'll wall each other and start rapid casting Virus. It hurts a lot, and you usually don't want to deal with it, so you typically want to hit them with magic or abilities like Jump that don't trigger that script to start. They are also undead, so they're vulnerable to these cure spells that Rose is throwing out here as well.
One of the good things, though, is they are also classed as dragons, so a Dragoon Spear is going to do a great deal of work. However, Kane isn't currently wielding that. That looked like a defense sword attack. Still a good one, 3,500, but not the 9999 that could happen with the Dragoon Spear.
Yep. This Odin, I believe, is going to go down. Yeah, let's say going to go down relatively quickly. The Wyvern spot doesn't have a ton of magic power for the Zenketsuken attack either. Oh, this is the Ribbon Room. Never mind. That could have been a little more dangerous.
It would have been dangerous, but it's down. There was a required Sand Ruby and also a pass, which means no need to come up back up to the moon. That also sort of says if Lukaki is somewhere, that's go mode. Oh, we still need the Adamant. Never mind. Actually, essentially it is, isn't it? Because Adamant is somewhere.
Still have the Baron key out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not quite, but we're getting very close to it, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting to the point now where if the Luca key or the Adamant comes up, you have to consider whether or not you want to keep clearing, or if you want to start clearing your objectives, hoping you run into what you need for the last one.
Yeah. The problem is the key, the only key item for running around things that isn't the Luca key is that Baron key. So
yeah.
And
key covers 2 potential key item spots, of course. So if you getting the Baron key actually would be a very, very interesting proposition.
Yeah. Let's see what's at the Crystal Sword altar here. Okay, so that sort of tells me that Ogo has something.
Yeah, we've seen all the spots on the moon now, right? At this point.
Yep, we have seen all the spots on the moon. We know what's at the Twin Harp. The only thing that we haven't seen is what's behind Ogopogo, at the Queen.
Right, which is likely the Baron key, which leads to our Luca and our Adamant in some form.
Yeah. It could be the Luca key leading to Baron.
It could be.
Or it could be the Baron key leading to Luca. Or the Adamant. So it's something. We know where we're going, and both of our runners have bounced off of that spot today.
Yeah, Wewbear more so than Xenocat. Xenocat gave it 1 attempt and then Veil. The Wewbear gave it 3. Wewbear, of course, has to take care of the Twin Harp and the Pan at some point here as well. So he's kind of up against it here. He still has to do cave value. We know from here skipping it is the correct call, of course. Can he talk himself into doing it after he finishes this fight?
I still think it's going to be the last thing he does. I honestly think that Ogo is... you're going to go to Giant after finishing the moon. That's likely where I see people going, because
absolutely
save yourself doing a whole bunch of cutscenes when you can just do it in one. And then going down and dealing with that Ogopogo, because you're going to have the levels, you're going to have the experience. I see that Twin Harp being the last thing that Wewbear does.
Yeah, it's hard to. It is hard to see another way that plays out. He to give himself his best shot at winning this race, he needs to convince himself to somehow skip Cave Bahamut here, to somehow say that, the Earth checks are more likely to have what I want, and I have that Ogopogo spot that I tried to get through and couldn't, and I have the Twin Harp that I haven't done, and go all in on that. But that's tough. That's a tough decision to make when you're already here. And yeah, he's going to Cave Bahamut, which I absolutely do not blame him for in any way, but it is unfortunately not the correct call for him.
Yeah. In his favor, I do think he's been a little bit quicker between checks and getting through checks, considering what amount of power he's had. And so I think he's a little bit ahead that way, but Xenocat is a little bit ahead in terms of things done at the moment. So I still think this is anyone's race. Wewbear still has a good way into it. Just Xenocat's got a little bit of advantage because it doesn't have to do that one check that Wewbear is going to be putting off.
Bomb fight started for Wewbear. Xenocat going to be on their way into the White Spear room, I would assume, from here.
Most likely, just finishing off the Deluna altar there, the ribbon room. Just 2 more spots on the moon remaining for Xenocat. Wewbear on their last one. Moon pretty much had exactly what we expected out of it. Nothing, except that sand ruby.
Yeah, I mean, literally.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one was in the most obvious spot of them all, being the ribbon room, the place most people go first.
Yeah. And this was sort of the situation that clearing out the entirety of the blue planet first, this is what it potentially could have saved you. If you had done that, we know that that's going to turn into either Luca or Baron, which is going to lead to everything but the Sand Ruby. You could theoretically have come up here, probably would have done Cave Muhammad if you only had Sand Ruby left and checked it first, and then gone underneath through the ribbon room, and you get to skip the other 3 altars. That would have been fantastic, but leaving the 1 check, and of course it's required, puts you in this position now where now you're doing the entirety of the moon.
Giant time. Wewbear is done with the moon. Taking the lunar well down. Letting the controller activate this cutscene. Falling into the giant. We've got 2 bosses up here to deal with. Very high level spots. 2 potentially difficult spots. There's a few bosses out there which could be a bit of a stumbling block here.
Kenatsu is still out there, I think.
Kenatsu is still out there. Golbez is still out there. We know where Val is. Val is in
Baron, yeah.
Baron, and at the moment, Ruby is still out there. Ruby in the second spot could be a big issue. So we'll have to see what's coming up. Xenocat has 1 more spot left on the moon, and being that Baigon at Ogopogo spot, the Moon altar, and our boss is Pain.
Okay.
I'm saying that a lot today, aren't I? That is Pain. So
this one, except for one thing, HP. Kenyatsu's waves are based on his current HP. So that's the formula that you've got going on here, and we don't have a black mage anymore.
Yeah, and considering HP, this is the highest spot for HP in the game. And for one boss, it is max. It is 65,535. It will do the most amount of damage it can do every single time until you get that hit point total down, which at the moment I think it's down to about 1,200. Well, maybe a bit more than that, but yeah.
1 Thor Rage in the Wewbear's inventory, yeah, which they got out before a wave got out. That might be enough.
That might very well be enough. We'll see. Should be a high enough hit points at this particular stage to survive 1 big wave, which means Rosa can keep on top of everything else with Cure 4s. So the moon experience absolutely required here to get through this fight as easy as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount out from the waves is only going to go down. Kenyasu will use fast to speed him up, but he's already going as fast as really possible. So Rosa, with the other 2 being berserked up, should be able to keep on top of the healing from this very, very easily.
Yep. So yeah, the 1 Thor Rage was indeed enough. Hopefully Xenocat has 1 in his, in their inventory as well.
Well, we're just about to see, because they are heading to the giant now.
Yeah, we can see even though Xenocat went to the moon a fair piece later than Wewbear did, that they are essentially on their way to the giant relatively shortly after, so you can see how much time they picked up on average through just being able to have higher level berserkers that are hacking through those moon fights much faster.
Yeah. Plumerian Knight does bring up a good point. Wewbear did reset. No, didn't reset out of the spoon. Still, the spoon is an option to throw as a 9,999 dart. So that might be a quicker way to get Kunyatso down a few bits. I think we've got a problem though. And are you seeing what I'm seeing as well?
Yeah, are we out damaging the healing?
At this moment in time, I don't think we are. Oh, there goes Kunyatso.
Blizzard. Oh my gosh. One Thor Rage and one Blizzard in the inventory required to get through this.
Yeah, very close to having a big issues there. Because of the amount of hit points that Kunyatso has, those remedies were doing 6,500. If you can't keep on top of that and do more than that, you're fighting a losing battle. Xenocat has just seen the problem ahead of them, so just making sure that everything is in place.
Oh my gosh. We got more pain, I think, coming up here.
This isn't so bad, but yes, the level 2 spells that Mindy will be putting out will be doing quite a bit of damage to everyone but Edge. And apparently Rydia, to Rosa. But Cindy in the middle with the isn't as dangerous as you might think, because she isn't in the front row at this particular moment, so she's not going to do as much damage because of the back row situation.
A little bit easier because of the equipment. As it is, I believe Rose is wearing a protect ring, which is why she's taking very little elemental damage as well.
Yeah. So yes, this spot would have been really bad, but the equipment that's been found and that is available is more than enough. Just need to make sure that Cindy doesn't revive the sisters too much.
I mean, you can see, you can see there.
Wewbear may have done a little bit of a problem. May have done something they didn't mean to just there.
Yeah, but I was going to say you can see how much damage they can output by looking at what just happened to the cane right there. And yeah, the adamant armor doesn't protect you against holy.
No. It protects you from a lot of things. Holy and White Knight, not quite that. Especially from a Rosa that's quite powered up at this moment in time.
And yeah, Xenocat, I believe the spoon got them through, got enough HP hacked off Kinatsu to be able to take the waves. And so they should be in the clear at least until the healing stage, and then we'll see if they're able to punch through that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that should have been maybe thought about is choosing in white. But one of the things that can be done here is to use slow to counteract each of the fasts, because one instance of slow is almost 1.5 times the effectiveness of fast cast on Kunyatsu, so that is a way of counterbalancing it. it's yeah, that's a possibility, but white should do just the trick as well.
Yep. It does look like Zeno might have one more multiplier on the fighters. At least, I'll see the edge didn't hit 3K on that one. I don't know. It's close. Zeno is doing around 6,005 with the two fighters, so the white should be what pushes it over.
Yeah, has more experience than Wewbear did going into that particular fight, so much easier time overall. Wewbear is through though. Let's see what the character is that no one's going to be picking up today. Well, if you'd raised your teller, maybe you'd switch out, but not going to be the case this time.
Yeah, the ready-made anchor, fresh out of the can.
So, where does Wewbear go next? Is it Twin Harp? Is that the destination, or is it back to get revenge on Ogopogo?
I'm inclined to think Ogopogo personally, but we'll see.
That would be my inclination as well, but we'll. It's all a matter of where they go from here, and the answer is back to Fame Arch.
Right. From a routing perspective, it makes a little bit sense too, because you can take the damage you've taken off Ogopogo, and you can go and walk on the tiles down here to get yourself down to 1 HP if you need to set up for the Cave Magnus dialogue skip. So doing this first just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Berserk, now this isn't round 2 for Wewbear, this is round 4 against Ogopogo. Bounced off of it very heavily earlier on in the seed. He didn't quite have the power at that point just to finish it off. Was close, but not, well, was sort of stable, but didn't quite have enough. Xenocat on the other hand has only had one attempt at this Ogopogo coming up before skipping it and moving on.
Zeno through that CPU fight will get their second Tella, who's probably going right in the bin, and will be right behind Wewbear to this Ogo spot, because that is the only thing Zeno has on the map to do.
Yeah, got through the moon, got through the giant a little bit quicker because of the higher levels. They did a grind before heading up, but yeah, one last thing. It's really a matter of what the item is next, though. Is it going to be the long way to that adamant, or is it going to be the short way? Well, actually, does it matter? Thinking about it, because if it's Baron, you're going to have to do check anyway, because there'll be Luca key, and you're likely going to check the other one for the adamant. If it's Luca key, which it is, you're still going to get the Baron key and might have to pick both to get the adamant.
So I guess the question is, when you do Baron, do you go down and check the throne immediately, or do you do the check first?
I see people doing in the Baron basement, because there's no point doing both, I feel. Actually, yeah, if it's the Baron basement and first, and it is the adamant, you can walk out and skip the cutscene. But if it's the throne, you're leaving anyway. You know what? There's no good choice. There is no good choice.
There isn't. There isn't. The argument for skip not required. You get to just, hey, men of the people, Wewbear, checking the isolated chest. The argument for skipping the basement is that you potentially get to skip it, and like I've mentioned, it's hard to win skipping absolutely nothing, and you're on pace here for, 17-17, 28-28, so...
Yeah. This seed, this final part of the seed has been just, you haven't wanted to make the correct choice. You haven't actually wanted to. Ogo Pogo is difficult here. You don't want to deal with it. But it's been required. It's given the Luca key. Yeah, Luca key, that's fine. That's an objective. But then you've got to make the difficult choice about which place for your final one. And we don't know which boss is hiding which.
Right.
So you're going to have one that's going to be a complete nothing, while the other one is going to be needed. It's also the fact that you've gone to the moon, you've gone to the giant, you've come back down, you've gone all over the place, and you're having to go all over the place again, because even after all this, once you've done Baron, you're going to have to come underground again to forge, to then go back up again to use the pass. And that's not even counting Wewbear, who needs to go to Cave Magnus still to do that, to come underground, to go back overground, to come back underground.
Yeah.
And there's so many things. You just don't want to do any of it, but you've got to do all of it.
Yeah. I think if this was me getting this Baron key, because the Baron throne is a K-main objective, rather than a K-summon, and I would want to give myself the opportunity to skip out on the Baron basement throne, I think. I would be willing to gamble the 45-ish seconds or so of being able to walk out of the Baron check. I would gamble that in to potentially be able to, because we haven't seen Golbez. Like, if that's an unrequired Golbez in the basement, I mean, that's awful.
It is. I've been thinking about it. I haven't wanted to say anything, but yeah, that is a real possibility of a boss there. And we still do have to get through Val in the bygone spot, which, although it should be trivial at this spot, it's still Val. Misplaced weak and maybe a punch in the wrong place.
Not that you're necessarily in danger, but the fight takes a lot longer than you were hoping for it to. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, time at this point is the biggest matter. What do you feel is going to be your quickest route to the end?
Yeah, Wewbear is almost certainly going Baron Key here. I can't see the Twin Heart play over the Baron Key from his spot.
No. No, this is 2 key items. You know it's required in at least one way. Right. So yeah, it might, in Wewbear's eyes, this could be the pan that leads me to the Adamant. This could be the rat tail that leads me to the Adamant. Heck, this could be the Adamant straight up. So yeah, this is their route, and they are going to do both of them. Yeah. Most likely. While Xenocat may only have to do one on their part, if it's the correct choice.
Alright, Xenocat risking the big doll there, but doesn't get it. Gets through the fight relatively quickly. We will see the Val fight from Wewbear here, and Zeno will be right behind him.
Yeah, so while it may look that Wewbear has a little bit of an advantage, it's really the other way round at this point. Xenocat has everything required now. We know the Adamant is somewhere in Baron Castle. Just which throne? Go hand that Sand Ruby in for someone else we're not going to be picking up, and then go and forge.
Yeah, so from Wewbear's point of view, making this dip into the throne, I think makes a lot more sense. Just
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, they have. He just has no idea where multiple required key items are, as opposed to Xenocat.
Yeah, and Xenocat very well may do that one main check first before coming back in to do the Baron basement.
Okay. Not a Golbez, just a Dark Elf. This is pretty free down here, honestly. The magic will hurt a little bit, but nothing that Rosa can't handle.
Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty quick, but you're already going at a fair clip yourself for this case with a Taylor Anchor. That week is a bit of a issue, but that's fine. Kane has a Dragoon Spear on in Wewbear's case. This dragon form won't like that. Of course, it does need to switch over to the Dragon Weakness, which didn't happen on that first one. Wait, where's the Dragon Spear?
Yeah, it didn't get the Dragoon stats to actually take effect there. I guess maybe Kane got berserked before the game registered the change and never made it, something like that.
It must have been, because yeah, Berserk's funky, but it's as broken on the good side as it is broken on the bad side if things go wrong. Still, we know that the Baron basement throne is the correct throne, and Xenocat is going upwards, which we've already stated makes perfect sense, and this is free.
It's as free gets. This is something crawled out of the moat and got on the throne somehow. I'm just gonna have to sweep it off real quick.
Yeah. So, what do people have left? Xenocat, on their part, has the Baron basement throne, and then is going to forge to a pretty quick fight against Dark Elf and the Forge. Wewbear will have to go and do the Cave Magnus, go through the Twin Harp cutscene, and get through the fight there, which is King Queen Eblin. Then go go hit Yang on the head. Then go and see Sheila 1, and then we'll be done. That's not counting the Sand Ruby and the Forge on Wewbear's side as well. So Wewbear has a lot more to go through at this particular stage to get to the Zeromus fight. Xenocat is in pole position.
Yeah, it's hard to see Xenocat giving this up from here. A Rosa with 3,000 HP, it's hard for her to die on the Zeromus fight, quite frankly. So this is pretty much Zeno's to lose from this time out.
Yeah, we have seen stranger things happen, and in a Zeromus fight, we have seen terrible things happen. We're not expecting it, especially with a life staff given at the very end as well. That's exactly what you want on a Rosa at this point in time. But we'll see. It's really just Can Wewbear get through these checks as quickly as we know he can? He's not a slow runner in the slightest. It's a daunting prospect, really, for him to win this. But it's still possible.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's essentially just been running a check or two behind for a lot of the race, and I mean that just happens sometimes. Decided that he was gonna fade that twin harp, and it's been hard required, and just hasn't been able to pick up enough time throughout the course of the seed to make up for that decision, and that's more or less gonna put him a check behind at the end.
Yeah. Xenocat has made a bunch of amazing decisions, and that little bit of grind on the eggs before heading up to the moon worked out very well in their favour. Got through the fights a little bit quicker. Got through the moon a little bit. Got through the moon a bit quicker. Got through the giants a little bit quicker. Has been steadily making time. I'm back on that, even with that one check advantage edge, because Wewbear was a little bit earlier going to the moon and doing those checks, but had much less power. So Xenocat has made some amazing decisions. Wewbear has done amazing in their own fights and getting through them with what they have had. So great showing of skill on both of our runners on our runners' parts. They've both showcased two different ways to play this seed, and they are still very, very close.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even Wewbear, his attempts on Ogopogo earlier, he was trying to do it because he knew he could get through it. Like, he knew that his power level was close enough that it was he had the potential to get through it, and he had a couple of attempts where he looked like he was semi-stable, that it was potentially could happen. It just didn't happen for him. Probably is an entirely different race if it does. Which is a little bit unfortunate for him in the end, but yeah, you can't fault the execution of both of these runners for the greater majority of the entirety of this.
And we get to see what our item today is. It's a Dragoon Spear. We do have Smith Alt, so what we're getting is not an Excalibur. Since we don't have Cecil, we didn't think it was going to be fair that you got a weapon for someone who didn't exist. We changed it to Alt, and that's a random tier 7 or tier 8 item that most people might be able to use. Yes, it could still be an Excalibur, it could still be a Crystal Sword, but yeah. We didn't want things to be too terrible for people. Dragoon Spear, not too bad, but I doubt it's going to be used considering we've already got one and there's a defense sword available.
Yeah, possibility it might get thrown during this Zeromus fight if we see a black hole.
I would be very surprised if we don't see anything thrown except wine.
I mean, I tend to agree. This Edge and this Kane, with the way they are decked out, are going to dice up Zeromus very, very quickly.
Edge hasn't got the greatest set of weaponry. I think we've got Full Moon Long, but that's still more than enough with an adamant armor to get the job done. But since we have got every single key item and the pass, we're not going back to the moon. Well, we are, but we're going the scenic route. We're going the more fun route. We're going through the pan. And that does mean that we're getting to the end of this seed. We're going up to face the Romus. Blah, blah, blah question.
Okay, it's everybody's favorite question. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And does it have a hat? Is it cute? Does it wear pants? These are all questions that we are going to have answered in a few
I think
moments.
I think the biggest question, considering this particular tournament and the people who have been involved in it, is what hat is the Romas wearing today?
Yeah.
And if he isn't wearing a hat, why not? So, let's see what is there. Crystal is thrown. Romus doesn't want the crystal to be thrown, not surprising. 1 hour 52 and a couple of seconds. So let's see how quickly we can get through this. Those are some beefy HP numbers, though.
Yeah.
Oh, Kulex.
The super boss from Super Mario RPG. Whose music is the FF4 music. So, very fitting.
Fun fight as well, when I did it that one time. But, yep, Berserk's coming out. That's a perfect target for the nuke to go on to. I don't see too many issues with this particular fight right now.
Yeah, the only way this fight was going to go south was if Rosa took that counter nuke and got high rolled by this big bang, and it somehow did 3,238 damage, but that didn't happen, so yeah. Just going to sit here, let the boys swing, and we'll sit in Rosa's menu and cure 4 when the big bangs come out, and this will be over fairly quickly.
Yeah. Wewbear not too far behind at all. Oh, just about to go and do their final objective, which is to give the pan back to Sheila, pick up the rat tail, and then head over to Toya as well. So not really that far behind. Just that one little routing and decision earlier in the game made a heck of a lot of difference.
Yep, it really, you mentioned it. It's impressive from Wewbear's point of view that by leaving the Twin Harp for so long and doing the moon at a much lower power level has actually kept this to within about the length of Zeroma's fight at the end.
Can't count anything out yet. Though Xenocat still needs to see the crack, the boom, the shake, and dissolving of Zeromus at the end yet. We're still in the process. That is our second big bang, well within tolerance levels. Rocks may be falling soon.
I would have to think the next action is rocks.
No, it's a black hole.
Okay.
It shows you how much different and the power level is. These two have been hitting for 3,500 to 4,000 each hit, but still not quite missing that first available black hole.
Yeah, just barely. We might see who's getting this berserk. Is it Kate? We might see the Dragoon Spear here, actually.
And there it goes. And there goes Kulexmus. The Dragoon Spear that we picked up. We'll just say it's the one that got picked up that got given to us by
Kokol, yeah.
No, Kokol. Oh, that was the tide turner. Xenocat has won in a time of 1 hour 55 minutes and 21 seconds by about, as you said, a Zeromus fight. Goes to 1-1, and I do believe we have now been joined by Xenocat. You have tied the score. You need a decider now. How do you feel?
That was...
Well,
Is that it? It's just
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I did not expect to win that. There were many points at which during that race where I was like, oh, there's no way I win this.
well, congratulations on your well-deserved victory. I guess the question that I wanted to ask is, this set of objectives, Quadrack and I both felt like really incentivized you clearing out the entirety of the blue planet before you went to the moon, because you actually had no summon altar objectives, which is pretty rare. Excuse me, no moon altar objectives, which is pretty rare. So was that your thinking, because you spent the longest amount of time on the blue planet before you went out?
I am usually someone who stays on the blue planet for a while. I figured, I have an adamant armor edge. Well, I eventually got an adamant armor edge. I had a decently strong cane. I got a pretty strong party. But I don't have an anchor. Let's stay where the checks are easy, and I don't really need an anchor to get through them quickly.
and then Ogopogo just showed their face, and it was
Oh
like,
yeah. That's
one
something I'm afraid of leaving behind.
Yeah, one attempt at it and saying, no, we're going to the rest, but then it giving the Luca key, which led to the adamant, is like, I could have done this so much earlier. Did that play on your mind at all?
Oh, 100%. As soon as I knew that Ogopogo was required, which was about once I had cleared out the entire moon, I felt incredibly behind at that point.
Not surprising, considering it is Wewbear. You know he's going to be quick between the checks, so you know he's going to get through them fairly as efficiently as possible. Also, plenty of reason to be afraid of what was happening on the other side, because you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But 1-1 at the moment. You've got one more race against Wewbear coming up. I don't know when, and you're planning on it happening, but you know you've got to do it. Anything you feel like changing between this? Anything you've learned in your two races so far?
Well, I've learned that I actually do need to grind. Grinding is good. Not so much on group flags, because group flags were super generous, but in bracket flags, grinding's good. Do grinding. It helps. As much as I hate to say it.
I felt like you also looted a lot more in this seed than I'm used to seeing you do. Yeah.
I'm usually not someone who opens boxes, but I was like, you know what? We're gonna just keep opening boxes, because I need more money. I spent all my money on an early Gungnir Spear. I need more money.
Yes.
So I need to open more boxes.
Yeah, not surprising. Just couldn't. It's frustrating when you just open so much. You're like, can I just get anything half decent for this cane? Anything? No, nothing. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll buy a Gungnir and open more boxes to offset the money cost, because really, I can just buy everything I need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts? Have you set a time for your decider?
It will be tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's gonna be terrifying, I have to say. But
but the hope now, since you've already got one win, is that you can get another one.
Yeah, maybe I can do that.
Yep.
Maybe. We'll see.
Good player, momentum is on your side after the win today. GG's once again, fantastic race. You played extremely well, and good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. And shoutouts to both of you for doing what I'm sure is fantastic commentary. JMac for lighting up all of the buttons, every single button, so many buttons. And shoutouts to Bad Karma for giving us Knazo at Elements. I actually appreciated that. That was the one thing where I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is where I made up time.
You made up plenty of time across the board. Don't worry, you played that absolutely amazing. So, well done.
Well, I will hop out of here so y'all can talk to Wewbear. But have a great night, everyone. And I'll be back tomorrow doing the same thing. Oh gosh.
Thanks again. Congratulations one more time, Xenocat.
And of course, while we were finishing in the middle of the interview there, Wewbear did finish in a up to our time in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 32 seconds, and he has joined us now. Wewbear, Twin Harp doesn't like you too much, does it?
Twin Harp? No, apparently not. But it happens. It happens. I don't know why I faded it. I was like, I'm gonna do Zot so I can get exit, then I can go do Twin Harp, and then I just decided not to.
Yeah, the exit is a good point that you didn't have access to it when you were there, so that makes sense that you would fade it at least initially from the the common routing of wanting to do Twin Harp into Earth Crystal.
Yeah, I figured the exit saves like 45-ish seconds, which is a lot more than flying back up there from Baron. But that's only if you go back and do the Cave Magnus, which I did.
Was it just a conscious decision not to do it, or just you forgot it at that one particular moment and then just decided I've left it now, I'll just have to hope?
No, I knew it was there. I was, like I said, I didn't really like think like I'm gonna not do this for this X, Y, Z reasons. I just was like, I'm gonna go do something else because there was just more density underground, right? And the two things that I decided to fade had, I think, 5 key items behind them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's have a quick chat about that Ogo Pogo.
yeah,
Bouncing off 3 times. We got the sense that you was going on it, going against it and we really thought that you could do it and you was going to do it.
I could definitely do it. Like even that last fight, I just got unlucky with him punching Rosa, which put her like very low because she was casting I think Blink at the time, and then the wave came, and if the Blink went off, then I could have healed easily, and that would have been that. But yeah,
It definitely is one of those things. I don't know if this ever happens to you. I know it happens to me sometimes when you're like right on the verge of like, I know this is theoretically doable, like I know I can do this, and you get frustrated that it doesn't happen, and you just force yourself to do it again.
I used to be really, really bad with that, and I've tried to get better, which is kind of why I like constantly, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go elsewhere. I have tower key, tower sounds fine, but yeah, I used to be extremely bad for that. I would be very stubborn.
I've had a story of my FE career.
Yeah.
I'm very stubborn. If I think I can do something, I go and do it until I do. And usually it's 5, 6, 7, 50 attempts. So yeah. So congratulations on just seeing it through 3 times and then running away and doing everything else.
Yeah, I could have set that fight up much better, but
curious how the moon felt for you. You did go to the moon quite a bit sooner than Zeno did, and didn't quite have the levels that he did either. The moon wasn't too terribly difficult, but did it feel like
no, it just felt slow.
Yeah, it still felt slow. Yeah.
I mean, Adamant Edge. That's kind of why I decided to go up there, because Adamant Edge is pretty strong. Not going to die to a whole lot, but it's just a lot of the fights didn't line up with a good Berserker party. Like Bigan, for example, was just horribly slow, and then Odin was like, I had to wait a little bit to be able to get him down, and yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
The only other thing I really saw, which sort of stood out, is White against Cindy.
Oh, that was I figured I didn't think it would be that slow to cast, and then they decided just to hit the back 2 and then the front 2 back to back to back, and then killing both of them. So I was like, well, and then of course the white hits Edge, which was the one target I didn't want it to hit, but it is what it is.
It just stood out to me. It was like, well, this epitomizes Wewbear's sort of seed here. Just the right idea is just not hitting the right notes.
Yeah, I was a little impatient at that point. so I got a little bit too aggressive with that fight.
I mean, the giant was pretty funny with the Kanatsu first, which I love that you had literally one Thor Rage and one Blizzard in your inventory to get through that fight.
I don't know where I got that, if it was from the starter kit, but if it's from a chest, I'm going to have to watch it back and just loot that every time, because that Thor Rage was very handy.
So you're now 1-1. You've got one more race to go up against Xenocat. We understand it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And any things that you just have learned over the last 2 races, that anything you might change quickly?
No, I'm gonna. I'm usually very into clearing the overworld, which I didn't do this time. So I'll probably try and be more conscious about doing that next game. But it's fine. I played poorly and I got a bit unlucky on a couple things, and I'll just play better tomorrow, hopefully.
All we can really say is good luck and have fun tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You still played relatively well overall. You mentioned the stuff that you thought you needed to go better, and you were still essentially only one Zeroma's fight behind at the end. So, testament to your ability to be able to get yourself a win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you again, everyone, for commentating, restreaming, pushing the buttons, all the cool things, and everyone watching. It was fun. I will be playing again tomorrow. So, good night.
All right, that was our racers for you this evening. Chat, thank you very much for watching. No more races tonight, I don't believe, but we got more coming at you tomorrow. Early race, 9 a.m. Eastern race, Sunday morning, between Infinius and Rex Banner. Pretty sure that's a game 3 for that one, so you won't want to miss it.
And we are going to be heading over to FF4FE, who is doing some bracket flag exploration and just seeing how she handles the bracket. It's in her own ideas. But please don't spoil all these races or anything other that you've seen today. People will still want to go back and watch these. And tonight, the cat has prevailed over the bear. Have a good evening, everyone.
Yes, for the entire Xenocat restream tonight. Thanks a lot, and see you next race.